The wait is almost over, Commanders fans. The 2023 season for the Washington Commanders will kick off on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. And we're here to break down the entirety of the 2023 season. And I'm going to give my official record prediction for the Burgundy and Gold here for the 2023 campaign. But before I do that, make sure you click that subscribe button for me right now for free and daily Commanders coverage. Here on YouTube, we're going to be having post-game coverage for the Cardinals game here on Sunday, so make sure you click that subscribe button so you see who played well, who didn't play well, injury updates, all that good stuff. And without further ado, let's get into this record prediction here. And here's the first 5 games. Of course, it kicks off this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals at FedEx Field. And if you want to check out our Week 1 preview here of that game, and you want to see my keys to victory this Sunday versus Arizona, you can check that out. I'm going to put the link to that video in the comments and description of today's video. So once you're done here, go ahead, check that one out as well. So now let's start with Week 1, where, of course, I have the Washington Commanders beating the Arizona Cardinals by a score of 30-10 in Week 1. I think it's going to be a great start to the season. I think Sam Howell is going to look good. I think Bieniemy is going to look good. I think Chase Young is going to look good if he plays, but he's expected to play. And I do think it's going to end up being 30-10 Commanders win in a very convincing victory to start out their 2023 campaign. But let me know what you guys think about this first matchup here. Who ends up winning here in Week 1 of the 2023 NFL season? Will it be the Commanders, type WAS, or do you think it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals, type ARI, down there in the comment section if you think it's going to be the Birds. But go ahead and so let's get into this Week 2 here with Denver Broncos, where I think the Commanders are going to take a loss there. It's going to be mile high. It's going to be lower altitude or higher altitude. Sorry, it's going to be tough for the guys to breathe up there, especially early on in the season. So I think that the Broncos going into this season, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, they have a lot to prove here. I think they're going to come in home game here, and they're going to end up getting the victory over the Commanders there, and probably a close game, though. Then we get to Week 3 in a tough game against the Buffalo Bills. Of course, Josh Allen, they've got a very good front seven. Of course, Stephon Diggs, they've got a lot of talent, and I really like Sean McDermott, their head coach, as well. So I think at FedEx Field, the Commanders will probably make a little bit of a game of this one, I do think Josh Allen and the Bills come away with the victory. And then you got a really tough one there, third straight tough game in a row on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles, and last year's NFC champs, I do think are going to get the win there. So you start the season 1-3, not a great start for Sam Howell, Ron Rivera, and Eric Bieniemy here, but then you go Thursday Night Football in a huge game for this franchise, and I think they come away with the victory at home versus the Chicago Bears. Of course, you got Justin Fields coming into town. I think that defense in Chicago is a little bit lackluster. I think it's going to be a pretty close game there at the end, and I think the Washington Commanders come away with the victory on Thursday Night Football, just as they did against the Bears last season. Now, coming up here on the Commanders Report, will the Washington Commanders make the playoffs? I'm going to be answering that question along with my final record prediction for the Commanders here in 2023. But before we get into the rest of this schedule, check out our friends at BetUS, and they're offering you guys an awesome deal here just in time for the start of the 2023 NFL season, a 125% deposit bonus when you go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125 to get that deposit bonus. Now, what does that mean, a deposit bonus? If you put in a deposit of $100 to $600 on the BetUS website, they're going to give you 125% of that money back to you to use on your bet. So you put in $100, they're going to give you $125 additional dollars, so $225 total to use on your bets. And why not use that on this week's matchup versus the Arizona Cardinals? So go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125 to get that deposit bonus today. Then we get into Week 6 here, and I got the Commanders, after starting the season 1-3, they get back to 500 here with a win over the Atlanta Falcons on the road. I think that's going to be a really nice game for Sam Howell and company. But now this is the tough stretch of the season for the Commanders, and I think this is where Ron Rivera starts to lose a little bit of the locker room here. I think they're going to lose to the Giants or on the road there at MetLife Field. I think they're also going to get swept by the Philadelphia Eagles. Even at home, I know they're usually competitive, but man, Philly's just such a good team this year, in my opinion. It's going to be tough to get a win there. Hopefully they can come out with a win there and stay at 500, but in terms of this projection here, I do have them them losing that one. Then you go to a really tough environment there in Foxborough where Bill Belichick eats young quarterbacks alive, man. You look at his record facing quarterbacks in their first or second year of their NFL careers, it's almost 100% win rate. So especially because the Patriots are at home, I think Sam Howell probably struggles in that one, and the Patriots get that victory. 3 straight losses here for the Commanders, and then we got to make it 4 as well, going into another tough environment at Seattle. It's really, really tough. If this was at home, I'd probably go with the Commanders to win this game, but because it's in Seattle at Lumen Field, where it's one of the loudest, toughest places to play in the National Football League, I do have the Seattle Seahawks, who I do think is going to be a surprise contender in the NFC this year, coming away with the victory. Now, after that 4-game losing skid, you're at 3-7 now, and I think after that point, the Commanders might be thinking about shifting some things around in the season, right? Ron Rivera could be fired if they want to give Eric Bieniemy a shot at the head job if you start at 3-7. And then also Sam Howell, right? If he's 3-7 there after the first 10 weeks, you might want to maybe go to Jacoby Brissett to try to save this season. But, I believe in Sam Howell. I think at this point, you've got to stay firm. And I think if you do that, some success is going to be coming in the weeks to come here. But before I go over that success here towards the playoff stretch here, would you fire Ron Rivera mid-season here? If you start the season 3-7, do you fire Ron Rivera? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments by giving me a yes or no to this question. And now let's get to some more of the successful part of the season, in my opinion, for the Commanders. Some vulnerable games here. At home versus the Giants, I do think they split versus New York this year, so you get the win at FedEx Field to end the 4-game losing streak. Then you have Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys, and I think you do come away with the victory there, and you start to feel really good about this team now after 2 straight divisional wins here, especially on Thanksgiving. That's always a great feeling. And then you go home to Miami, and I think you get another statement win. I really like the Miami Dolphins this year, especially because at this point in the season, Jalen Ramsey's probably going to get back, but I think this is going to be a statement victory for the Washington Commanders, and it's going to get this team back into the playoff conversation heading into the bye week here in week 14. You have 3 straight wins. You've got a game against the Rams coming up. That should be a relatively easy game. The playoffs are in sight at this point, and the season is still alive. All right, now before I go down this last playoff push here, go ahead and like today's video if you want to help out the channel and you want the Washington Commanders to make the playoffs here in 2023. Then you come back from the bye here in week 15 against the Rams, and you get your 4th straight victory. So you take 4 straight losses, then 4 straight wins to get yourself back to 500. What a rally here from the Commanders. Unfortunately, this is definitely a difficult situation here towards the end of the season. You got 2 really tough games in weeks 16 and 17. I think they take losses versus the Jets because it's on the road. Aaron Rodgers is going to have chemistry with his guys at that point. I think the Jets are going to be a really dangerous football team at that point in the season. That's going to be a loss. And then same thing with San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan has his teams rolling towards the end of the season pretty much every single year. And, even if it's Sam Darnold at quarterback at that point, I still think this offense is going to be a really good team. And overall, I think that those 2 games you can chalk up as losses to this point, but hopefully the Commanders can come out with a big victory there towards the end of the season. And then if the season is on the line, they need to win this game, this Week 18 game versus Dallas. I think they're going to do it. Sam Howell doesn't lose to the Cowboys, guys. I think that's going to be a sweep of the Cowgirls this year for the Washington Commanders. And after all this, after the dust settles here, I do think the final record for the Washington Commanders here in 2023 is going to finish at 8-9, and they will miss the playoffs, which likely means Ron Rivera is going to get fired at the end of the season if he doesn't get fired during the middle of the season. Now, my take on this year, is that I think the Commanders' offensive line is going to be kind of that X factor where if they can pull it together, if they can get some chemistry and they can get some mojo going and they can prove me wrong and prove to be an adequate NFL offensive line, then I think the playoffs are an absolute possibility for this team. However, I just based on what we see or what we've seen from the guys on the offensive line currently, I don't feel super confident going into the year. Sam Howell's in his first year as a starter. And you look at Ron Rivera's tenure throughout his time as head coach of this franchise. They've been competitive, but they haven't gotten to that double-digit figure yet. And I don't think this is the team that's going to get that done. And I still think that they're probably going to be probably 1 year away from making the postseason. I think this year will be a good stepping stone and a good building block, and then I think they'll be ready to make the playoffs in 2024 when they can build this offensive line next offseason. Now it's your turn. Get into the comments section right now and let me know your Commanders 2023 record prediction, and let me know if you think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to come just short this year, but I think you're going to see a lot of good things from Sam Howell. It's going to be interesting to see if Ron Rivera can keep his job after a performance like this year, and I'm super excited to see what is going to happen here in the 2023 campaign. All right, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Really do appreciate all the support. Make sure you click that subscribe button for free and daily Commanders coverage. Of course, we're going to have our post-game coverage after the Cardinals game on Sunday, so make sure you subscribe for that. And that'll be it for me today, guys. I'll see you guys later. And as always, hail to the Commanders.